What's popping? Uh-oh. Sounds like, yo, ain't no way Cenat's trying to copyright an idea, right? I don't think that's the case because I think he may just be trying to copyright the name Streamer University, but we saw how that worked when the Fine Bros tried to copyright React as a means of content on YouTube. But Cenat just got called out by a streamer by the name of Ice Poseidon, and I'm going to play you guys the clip first, and then we're going to get into a very, very interesting conversation that I'm excited to have.
Cenat, yeah, he tried to copyright Streamer University. That doesn't, we can't copyright an idea of content. That's retarded. Like, who cares? Why would you, if people copy you, who cares? If you're confident in your own ability to make good content, who cares if people copy you? Because at the end of the day, if you do it better, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care if someone else wanted to do a prison stream after me. I don't give a fuck, because they probably can't do it as good as me. And if they can, then I'll be impressed, and then I'll take inspiration from them. And I think that's fine. But, you know, I was thinking after he said that, I'm like, hey, one day I want to do my own Streamer University. So I might do my own Streamer University at one day, just because I think it would be funny. And then if he sues me, then whatever, he could sue me. I don't give a f.
All right, so off rip, we need to understand, like, Streamer University as a name, as a concept, yes, it was for sure originated by Kai, but the concept of how it was, the execution of it, the idea behind it outside of streaming, it's been done before. There is nothing new under the sun, really. It's just things that were taken from TV. That's really it. Most of these things that you see on stream were taken from reality TV or game shows, and even like the American game shows that were really popular were taken from Japanese game shows, and everyone's just borrowing from one another. But before we get some little kiddies, some little teeny boppers trying to go in on this guy, be like, who's this guy? He doesn't make good content. Listen, sit down, class is in session. This guy, Ice Poseidon, is the godfather of IRL streaming. That's why, like, when people talk about, like, yo, these guys changed streaming. No, this guy changed streaming. So on Twitch, which Cenat must be sponsored by at this point. That guy is, he's got the purple flag and everything. I mean that metaphorically, but Cenat, way before, Twitch used to be exclusively a gaming platform, which means that if you streamed IRL like you see DDG and all these other guys do, or just chatting, or kind of just reacting a little bit, you would get banned. That is correct. If you didn't play games, you got banned on Twitch. Now, what happened around, and Ice Poseidon started off as a RuneScape streamer. So he would stream RuneScape, and this is crazy. A RuneScape community is really something different. So he would have headphones, like these in-ear headphones, not the headset, but he would have one headphone, and he would leave the other one open. And what people would do is they started doing media donations or text-to-speech, which is when someone makes a donation and then it plays it for the stream and the audio, but they would only play audio on the side that he didn't have the headphone on. And they would play a lot of provocative stuff, a lot of racist stuff, and a lot of things that could get him banned, and some of that stuff ended up getting him banned. So it became this game to, like, get the guy banned. So he fomented quite a toxic community, but he was just doing this RuneScape stuff until IRL streaming. So what he did was he hacked IRL streaming. If you guys remember when Pokemon Go first came out years and years ago, like what, 10 years ago now? I think that was 2016. He played Pokemon Go outside. That was kind of a hack. But before that, what he did was social eating. So they had a category called social eating on Twitch. They added it. It was like one of the first non-gaming categories. And you could be eating like at a restaurant and having a conversation with somebody, and that would be considered fine. But once you finish the food, hey, stream's gotta end. So what Ice Poseidon did to try to bypass that in IRL stream is he would just buy a burger and hold it in his hand and just walk around all day and live stream and eat, like, you know, take a tiny bite every couple of minutes, every 5 or 10 minutes, eating that cold burger all day. He got banned for trying to do this type of stuff. And then eventually Twitch implemented an IRL category. And this guy was the king of IRL. Every popular gaming streamer would stop what they were doing. They would organize their streams to end when this guy was going live. Like, that's the kind of content that he was producing. He is the king of IRL. And after that, he was one of the first people that was getting swatted. Like, he got permanently banned on Twitch because somebody swatted him while he was on a plane. Yeah, it's vicious. Y'all think like Twitch is crazy now, banning people. Dog, this guy, he had no control over what happened and he got banned. But he kept pushing, and he did some of the craziest stream ideas, man. Like, he brought Fear Factor to IRL streaming, but he turned his entire life into a reality TV show IRL stream. So there was no security. This guy wasn't rolling around with security. He didn't have filmers with him. So he's rolling around with the film equipment. He's filming himself like selfie style, running into random people on the street, interacting on the street. Characters from his live stream would develop that were fans, and they would just live with him. Like, random people just living with him. New careers were born through that. He had this, one of the most legendary, you had to be there. I was watching this live. I couldn't even go to sleep. I probably slept 3 hours that whole weekend because there was just so much content. Is when he did this RV trip. So he just put a bunch of crazy people. And he's like, yo, we're going to get in this RV and we're going to drive around, I think, like up and down the West Coast. And you had fights in that RV trip. You had chicks smashing dudes in that RV trip. You just had everything. You had absolute chaos. It was anarchy in live streaming. Also, in one of the biggest fights ever, Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, he had a fighting event hours before. He called it like UFCX or something like that, with over 100,000 viewers. Keep in mind, when this happened, 100,000 viewers was insane. And this was 100,000 viewers on YouTube. And he just had a backyard fight with all of these different characters that had beef on his stream. So all of the stuff that you see Aiden Ross doing right now, they're just doing it on another level. And this is one of the cons of being the first to something. Not only do you not even really get the credit, you take all the arrows, but you also get screwed because you don't make as much money. Like, when he was doing this, he did an interview on No Jumper years and years ago, maybe 8 years ago or more. He talked about how he was making like 20 bands a month, which is, 20 bands a month is nothing to scoff at. But he's talking about how, like, I've got to spend at least 10 bands a month in what I'm doing in my life. He was also like one of the original guys to constantly get swatted, get banned from apartment buildings because people were calling them so much. And if he was showing up to a restaurant, he would be live streaming himself. He would walk into a restaurant, the phone would start ringing at the restaurant that he was at, and they were calling, asking about him right when he got in there. Like, they were absolutely causing chaos. It was so interactive, and that was the golden era of live streaming, of IRL live streaming. Like, right now, if you think it's the golden era, like, I don't mean to like sound like an old head, but unfortunately you missed it. It is what it is. Like, it's kind of like the golden era, I would say, of music. Hip hop was the mid 2010s. The reason for that being is, in that era, you had organic, raw fan bases grow by themselves. Rap, No Jumper was covering it as well, and you got superstars come out of that, like Juice WRLD, XXXTentacion. Like, their music is still being some of the most streamed today, and it was before record labels really caught on. So there was this period of time where there was like this independent movement. In the 90s, people could say it's the golden era because of like how hip-hop developed and the acceleration of the development of hip-hop, both sonically and culturally. A lot of it happened in the 90s, but a lot of that stuff was industry stuff. And like, people had to get signed, people had to do demos, people were getting like beat up and ran down on for like reviewing albums poorly. So there was a lot of payola, also a lot of threatening people to talk good about certain artists. It wasn't like this freedom that was had in that era, which I consider the golden era of hip-hop music. Like, we passed that era, unfortunately. Like, there ain't no new golden era. It just happens once. Maybe there will be something new with AI. Who knows? I don't even know what that looks like. But yeah, like, if I knew what that looked like, I would be rich. So it's one of those things where we could say it won't happen again. But IRL streaming, like, you guys know it's dead. And I just like to incorporate this history lesson because I know some people, they won't even know what to look for, even if they are interested in the history of IRL streaming. So I felt like I could just send people in a certain direction. You could find a bunch of these clips out and about. I think it's unfortunate because, like, Ice Poseidon isn't one of the biggest streamers anymore, but the CEO of Kick, like, he gave him a big deal. And he had him doing some interactive streams where I think he had these challenges to be able to survive and make enough money to get through Australia, and I believe it was New Zealand too. I didn't follow that as closely. He also had an India trip that was recent, within like the past 5 years. That was insane content. Now, there was also controversy with Ice Poseidon. Like, his community was the most toxic community I have ever seen. Now, granted, if you're just a spectator and you're watching in the comfort of your own home like I was, and you're not involved in it whatsoever, it's hilarious because someone else is going through all the stress. But if you're going through it, you're going through it. He even had an India trip, and we're talking like raw stuff. No security guards, no huge team behind you, no production, just raw, like getting to it. And there's such an appeal for that, but now it's like IRL streaming is just, and I appreciate and I love what Kai Cenat is doing. Like I said, he's the Mr. Beast of streaming. It's like YouTube. Before Mr. Beast, it was a certain type of content. It was raw. It was the person. But when it's Mr. Beast came, he took it to the levels that it could be taken to. And it became like corporatized and just a lot of setup, a lot of production, etc. And many people don't like that, but it inspired like a whole new generation. I think Kai Cenat is similar, but these guys were never really IRL streamers. They were more like just chatting streamers and then transitioned into IRL, which they kind of fall under the same thing, but they're really not. Like just chatting is kind of like reacting, chilling. IRL is out there in the field, interacting with random people. And you got to think, back then, streaming, things changed now. Because back then, streaming wasn't seen as an opportunity, number one, and it was seen as a weird thing. Like, he was the only guy walking around, even in LA, live streaming, and his community. So he had a ton of people that came up off of him. It was just such a legendary era, man. And I hope this isn't true about Kai Cenat, that he's like trying to kind of, I wouldn't say gatekeep ideas, but just trying to be corporate about it. Because one of the things that makes Kai Cenat likable still is the fact that he's kind of like open to collaborating with a ton of people and giving smaller people opportunities. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm gonna see y'all on the next one.